Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Did you know Final Cut Pro for iPad 2's iPhone companion app can actually be used as a free standalone pro video app? If you want to shoot video on iPhone with manual controls, Final Cut Camera is Apple's own solution beyond the stock camera app, and you don't even need to pay for Final Cut Pro to be able to download and use it. Its main purpose is to let you use your iPhone with FCP for iPad's live multicam feature, which I've tested in a separate video here. However, if you're planning to make Final Cut Camera your new main video app, here's 13 things you should know. The parameters you're able to control manually are ISO, shutter speed, white balance, and focus. You also get to choose your codec among HEVC or ProRes on supported Pro iPhones, as well as gamma, resolution, and frame rate. The user interface for selecting these is extremely well designed, expanding into selections or shrinking down to a status display. Just like the stock camera app, Apple Log is available only when recording in ProRes. Notably, some third-party camera apps like Keynote and Blackmagic Camera have the option to record Apple Log in HEVC for smaller file sizes. In Final Cut Camera, ProRes is also a singular option, as in there's no choices for the different qualities of ProRes. But again, like the stock camera app, when you select ProRes, your video gets encoded in ProRes 422 HQ. If you're recording ProRes in Final Cut Camera, just like the stock camera app again, your frame rate is capped at 30 frames per second. For 60 FPS ProRes recording, you've got to do the same thing which enables it for the stock camera app, plug an SSD in, and record ProRes externally. Which means, yes, Final Cut Camera does support recording to external media with the iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max. What's different with the stock app this time is a menu which lets you choose between internal or external recording once you've got an SSD plugged in. This choice is also available when shooting in HEVC. A major difference in Final Cut Camera's file management is your footage doesn't get saved to your camera roll. You access them as a separate collection within the app, which you can then share to your camera roll or ingest the footage directly into an FCP for iPad project. This works even if the source footage and the FCP project are situated on external media, meaning it's possible to capture footage and have it transferred into a project without taking up any space on your iPhone or your iPad. But item number 6 here is the biggest unique advantage for filming on Final Cut Camera. And that's the ability to not just monitor, but also have full control over your iPhone camera from your iPad. It's basically using the live multicam feature, but with only one angle. Live multicam seems to max out at 30 frames per second, so this might not be an option if you need 60 frames per second. Also, for this to work, you would need an active subscription to Final Cut Pro for iPad. But what you get is the exact same UI on your iPad. Every setting you could change on your iPhone, you can also do from your iPad. You get low latency HDR monitoring on a big screen, which means you could even be firing up Stage Manager, monitoring your shots, while also building your website using Squarespace blueprints right beside it. It's an incredibly powerful guided design tool to help you come up with a catchy design using the help of AI. Unlike choosing from templates, this gives you a completely personalized design, from color schemes to fonts, and it even lets you tailor the tone of the copywriting that's generated. Your website is automatically optimized for every device. It's also got powerful SEO tools built in to help your site show up more often to more people and in exactly the way you want. Of course, you may want to further customize your site down the line, and with Squarespace's next-gen website editor called Fluid Engine, you can intuitively customize every little design detail with drag-and-drop technology for both desktop and mobile. With your Squarespace website, you can sell anything from products to content to time. Payments are flexible and seamless for your customers, letting you accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, or even offer the option to pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay in eligible countries. Head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/zycheng to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Item number 7 is actually an advantage for the stock camera app. Because after you start recording in Final Cut Camera, it doesn't let you switch between cameras anymore. There still is a zoom rocker which lets you zoom in, but it's digital zoom within the current camera you're on. The iPhone 15s can actually hop between the physical cameras while recording video in the stock camera app, so if you're shooting something which requires zooming in and out a lot, you might want to get that one particular shot using the stock app instead. The next thing is a feature which I wish can be added in a future update, and that's the ability to monitor in Rec 709 when shooting Apple log. If you shoot Apple log in Final Cut Camera, you have to monitor your shots as a flat grey image. A view assist feature would really help, especially with exposure. That being said, Final Cut Camera is not without exposure assistance tools, because it does come with zebra overlays, focus peaking, a 3x3 grid, as well as aspect ratio markers. Currently, there's 1x1 and 4x3 aspect markers, and the zebra levels are fixed. It would be nice to get customizable thresholds for zebras in the future, or even a waveform monitor like the one you get in Kino. It is nice though that Final Cut Camera gives you the option to turn stabilization off, especially when doing mounted shots with your iPhone. This is something you want to turn off. Slow motion and cinematic mode remain in the stock camera app. As nice as it would be to see pro controls for cinematic mode, I guess we'll have to wait and see. If you tap on the image, by default it would set autofocus and auto exposure based on the point you just tapped on. But perks of being Final Cut Camera, if say you've dialed in manual exposure, then tapping on the image will change only the focus without affecting exposure. Same goes the other way around if you've locked your focus but want to tap to set exposure. Long pressing will also lock the current parameters in place, and if both focus and exposure have already been manually dialed in, then tapping your screen does nothing so it doesn't mess up your shot. Finally, at number 13, something simple but sweet: the ability to select your audio source. In case you've got an external mic plugged in, you can still choose between your iPhone mics or the external mics. In addition to the on-screen audio meters, if it's connected to an iPad running Final Cut Pro, you can even monitor your audio from the iPad through a pair of AirPods. So that's Final Cut Pro for iPhone, and 13 things you should know about it.